Good afternoon, everyone. Today is April. No, it's not April. Today is May 5th, 2023. Gosh, when did May get here? For goodness sakes, 5 days ago. Let's see. All right, should we go this way? This way? Oh, here we go. I guess I didn't really have a choice. It fell out of my hand. Okay. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. If I don't get this time, woo-wee. I'm gonna give it another try. Okay. Hi everybody, this is Bobby of Knitter's Niche. Welcome to my home. Welcome to my bonus room that I call my Knitter's Niche. This is where I come up to knit. This is where I come up to create. We're going to be talking about 3 finished objects today. 2 of them are accessories and 1 of them is a garment. The garment I'm wearing is the Felix Cardigan. Now, I have talked several times about the Noro Akari blend yarn that I had. It was a cake of yarn. I only had 1 and it had 525 yards to it. Now, I couldn't decide what to do with it. I wanted to do something special. I talked about doing the Sophie Shawl with it. I talked about doing a vest slash slipover using the Noro Akari yarn, but I just couldn't make up my mind. I wanted something that I was going to love and that I was going to wear. So I got to thinking the other day, what was last week? I got to thinking, well, I still haven't done anything with this Noro yarn. So I thought, well, I would do a cardigan. And I went on to Ravelry and I thought, well, I'll just go on Ravelry and I'll purchase a pattern. And I thought, okay, you know, there's a cardigan that I like that is simple, that is done in worsted weight. I would like to knit it again. Why don't I just knit that one? And that cardigan is the Felix Cardigan by Savory Knitting. Now, I have knit this before, and the Felix Cardigan, I'm going to grab the pattern here real quick. This is it. Like I said, it's by Savory Knitting. And this is done on a loose, kind of open, airy gauge. It is done with a size US 10 needle, which is a 6mm needle. And it gives it just a little more fluidity, a little more drape, a little more breathability, you know, a little more open gauge. So I decided to knit this, and I'm using my Noro. I'm using my Noro yarn. This is it right here. It's beautiful. It is just beautiful. It's lightweight. The yarn makeup of the Noro Akari blend is cotton, mohair, wool, and silk. And it just creates this light, airy, well, actually it is a lightweight yarn. It's very lightweight. You know, it's kind of deceiving because you look at it and you think, oh, it looks like it's going to be too heavy, but it's not. It's beautiful. It has a little bit of thick and thin to it. I don't know if you can see, if you look closely, you can see just a little bit in the texture of it. This has been washed and has been blocked, and it did smooth out. And see the lace raglans here? They opened up so nice. Really looks good. Really looks good. Now, like I said, I only had 525 yards to work with. So I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I needed, oh goodness, let's take a look here and I'll see how much I needed. Now I knit the size, the second size, which I guess you could call size 2. And I was going to need at least 800 yards of Aran / worsted, which is basically the same thing, of Aran weight yarn. And well, like I said, I only had 525, and that's a big difference in yardage when you're knitting a garment. So I thought, well, I'll stop at a certain point. And what I'd really thought I could do, you know, I don't know about having stripes all the way down the sleeves anyway. And this yarn is self-striping. It's dyed that way. So I got to looking in my stash and I found a yarn that works perfectly. And if you, I'll stand up again and let you take a look here. You can see where I stopped. Well, I was coming pretty darn close, just right after the sleeve separation, it looks like. Then I came in with this yarn, and it's gray, it's a tweed. It has a very subtle tweed to it. So here's the yarn that I used. It is Estelle yarn. And the Estelle yarn is the Eco Tweed worsted. It has 233 meters, 75% organic wool, and 25% cellulose viscose. Okay, so the viscose that is in this particular yarn comes from a plant base, which makes it very good because you're not using a bunch of chemicals to make that viscose. So this is the yarn that I used. Now, this yarn, it does have alpaca in it. I went and did some further research, and it does have some alpaca in it. So I have found that I am sensitive to alpaca. Of course, I did a full soak on this and let it soak, oh goodness, I would say close to half an hour in wool wash. And I put a little extra in there. And I thought, well, I put it on the blocking mats. Well, I rolled it in the towel first, got most of the water out, put it on the blocking mats, laid it out, let it dry. And I thought, oh, keep my fingers crossed. But I put it on. I had a actually I had a tank top on. And I put it on, and sure enough, with this yarn, not the Noro is soft as could be, but the Estelle Eco Tweed, it itches me. And it says when you go on their website, it actually says it's very soft to the touch. But I'm really thrilled with the color, though. I think it came out very, very nice. And I'm so thrilled with the color, and it blends in nice. I did the hem, the button band, the neck band, and the sleeves in that color. And the color is called silver. The color is called silver in the Estelle Eco Tweed. It took me 6 days to knit this. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see I start with day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I put posts on there all those days to let you know how I was getting along with my cardigan, with my Felix cardigan. So the only modifications I made, I think, were basically 2 of them, and they weren't, well, let's see, yes, 2. And they weren't a huge modification. What I did for the bind off, it says to use a sewn tubular bind off. Well, and I know that requires a long, you're sewing, so you're gonna have to have a long piece of yarn to begin with. So I thought, you know what? I'm not real comfortable with that. Don't have a lot of confidence, I should say, with doing that. So that technique. So I went ahead and did the Jenny's Super Stretchy Bind Off. I did it on the cuffs, and I did it on the bottom of the ribbing. I cast it off there with that technique. And then with the button band, I went ahead and did just your basic bind off. And then also with the neckband, I did the basic bind off. And it really turned out nice. I made sure I did the actual button band a little bit looser, but then the neckband, I wanted it to draw up and be nice around my neck here. So I just went ahead and just did it normally. I didn't do it loosely. I just did it normal, and it worked out really, really nice, because when you get to this point, you don't need a real stretchy one. Of course, you would need a real stretchy one if, it was like this, real tight around your neck to begin with. But I knew, because down here, it was down here. And then by the time I did the ribbing, it had come up. And then I went ahead and just did a nice bind off, and just your basic bind off, and it worked out perfectly. So I'm very, very happy with this. Like I said, I wanted to use this Noro Akari blend yarn. I wanted to make sure that it was going to be something that I loved and something that I was going to wear a lot, because I sure have worn it a lot today. So that is the first finished objects that I have to talk about. Now the second one is an accessory. And I had started this, oh goodness, I think the day before the last podcast, I had started the Petite Knit Sophie Shawl. Here it is. Now the Sophie Shawl it's knit with worsted weight, and this is from my stash. I've got it right here behind me, and it is beautiful. It is a wool and acrylic blend, and it also it's a tweed. It also has a little viscose in it, so there's a tweed to this, and the tweed they're little bitty hints of almost highlighter color, like a highlighter. There's an orange, and there's a green, and there's a blue in here, and there's a pink. You can barely see it there. So that is the Sophie Shawl. The Sophie Shawl, let me get it off here for you, and I'll let you take a closer look at it. It is long. It is very long. And I did the large, and I did the recommended needle, and I think, let me make sure I tell you right, is US 8 needle. So here it is. Here it is. Now, the width of it right there at the point is 16 inches. And from tip to tip, which is end to end, is 90 inches. So this has been such a fun knit. It's very easy. It's very beginner friendly. You start with 6 stitches. Okay, you're going to start with your 6 stitches, and then you turn around to the right side. Start with 6 stitches, and what you're going to do, the end of every row, you're going to slip 3. You'll put your yarn in the front and slip 3 purlwise, and then turn and start knitting back the other way. Follow the pattern. Now, if you start this way, you're going to be increasing, and you're going to increase to row. I'm not going to tell you what row because it is a paid for pattern, to a certain row. And then what I would do, I would put a little a marker, an open-ended marker, well, like one of those little light bulb markers. I would pin it on here, and then I would know so many rows you had to do another one. So I would count, and then I would pin that increase. And it did 2 things. By putting a marker on it, it showed which side was the right side, the side that needed to have the increase on. It would identify that as the right side, and also it would tell me when the next increase needed to be knit. I just count from one to the next. So that's how I did the Sophie Shawl. And this is a beautiful yarn. I do not know, it's from my stash, so I don't know what the brand name is, but what I did a little bit of research, and I found one that's comparable to this one from what I recall. And I'd like to suggest, I'm just going to read it here, the Lion brand Tweed yarn. It's 40% wool, 40% polyester, and 20% acrylic, and it is also a worsted weight yarn. So, I mean, what I'll do is I'm going to put a picture. I'm sorry, my nose itches a little bit from something. I'm going to put a picture here to my left, and it is going to have a picture of the Lion brand yarn that I'm talking about, the Tweed. So basically what this is, it's worked back and forth in one piece from tip to tip, or you might say end to end, in a garter stitch with a built-in I-cord edge. And it's really easy. It's fun. But really, you know, here's the little, let me show you. Here's the little Sophie scarf that I had done. There's the Sophie scarf right here. Let's put it here. Okay. And then here's the large Sophie shawl, the large size. So there's quite a bit of difference there. But like I said, this is the large size. Now, if you look at the dimensions and the pattern, you know, we all have different gauges. And on a Petite Knit's pattern, the dimensions they have are longer and a little bit deeper than mine, just a little bit longer, not much. Let's see here if I got the dimensions. Okay, let's see. Well, it doesn't have the width. Yes, it does. The width, they have 15 inches and mine was 16. And then the length from end to end for the large size is 94.5 inches, and I had 90. Mine's 90 inches. So I'm really happy with this. This has been such a fun knit, and I think everyone would really enjoy knitting this from someone who is a beginner. Now, is it beginner friendly? I would say it's beginner friendly with some help. The only thing I think that might trip a beginner up would be the I-cord edging if they've never done an I-cord, but actually that's kind of an easy way to learn how an I-cord works. Because you know how when you first start it, it looks a little wonky and you're thinking, this doesn't look right. But if a beginner would just remember that and just continue on, and to go ahead and put a marker, a place marker on the right side, like I said, every time you do an increase, put the marker there, and then go ahead and knit as per pattern. And then that way you don't have to have a little Post-it or even on the pattern and check off and write, you know, constantly on which row you're on. And really, if you use your markers that way, it's going to be more accurate. If you fold mine in half at the point, the long point in the back, if you fold it in half, it is exactly the same length from end to end. So yeah, so I would think everybody would enjoy it. Like I said, everyone from beginner to experienced to advanced knitters. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Now, I would love to knit a medium size so I can see, because this is pretty big. I mean, I wrap this up and wear it around the house because it's still a little bit chilly here, even in Northeast Alabama. We're having a little bit of cool weather still, which is unusual for here. So I've had this wrapped around me while I've been sitting and knitting. And I also have a blanket that I'm working on that I've had on my lap too, which has been nice and cozy, and knitting on that. So I don't have that blanket to show you. I've done a lot of work on it. It's the Cozy Comfort Throw that I've talked about since December, but I've been working on it the whole time. It's a big project, but I have enjoyed doing that so much. But I've done some big projects along with working on that. So I've done a great deal of knitting. Okay, so we've talked about the Felix Cardigan, and we've talked about the Sophie Shawl in the size large. And now we're going to talk about another accessory. Now, this last accessory that I'm going to talk about, a knitted accessory, was a test knit that I had done. And I had done this when I was in Florida. And I had knit it with a yarn that is a hand-dyed yarn, and it's really, really pretty. Let me go ahead and grab this here. Now, I'm going to show you this one in just a second, but let me show you the one that I had, my initial one that I had knit for the test knit is done, like I said, with hand-dyed yarn, beautiful yarn, and it is by Yarn Cafe Creations, and this is it. Okay, so I'll get that focused in here. So you can see the ribbing. It's really a beautiful ribbing, and it's a highly functional rib on this sock. It serves two purposes. It looks gorgeous, and also it really helps with the fit of the sock, and it just feels so good. Now, the reason that I think that this color is not, you just cannot appreciate, I really have to, you just cannot appreciate the ribbing on it. You just can't see it. Like if it's on your foot, you know, you look down, you really can't see the beauty of it. Although this yarn is just very, very nice. So here's what I did. When I got back home, well, it was after I had done my last episode, after I had my last episode up, which was episode 13, I decided that I was going to knit a second pair. And this is some yarn that some stash yarn I had. It is equal parts merino and acrylic, which kind of works out nice because I can wash this now. And this is in DK weight. So this DK weight is, you know, you could even use this like kind of like a slipper sock, a house sock where you walk around. But you can really enjoy the ribbing. I hope you can see that. Really enjoy the ribbing on this one. Here's the other one. And you know what's funny? I could always tell which sock is the first sock I knit when I knit a pair of socks. And the reason I can tell is because the first one seems to be a little bit looser. And I think it's because I haven't knit it yet and I'm being cautious. Being a little cautious, I think I knit a little bit looser, not wanting to knit it too tight, because this one feels much better. I mean, it's not a big difference, but I can tell. I can tell there's a difference. I don't know if you can or not, but I can tell, especially when I can feel it in my hands. But this is such a beautiful, it's just a beautiful color, just a nice cream, and then a really nice light, I don't know if you call it a mauve color, kind of a dusty pink. It's really, really pretty. Really pretty. So that is the test knit. Now I'm going to show you the pattern. And, oops, okay. I'm going to show you the pattern. It's called Magic Heel Socks DK Ribbed. And it is by Judy Newell. Okay, this is the test knit by Judy Newell. And this pattern was released April 8th, 2023, just last month. And the best thing about this pattern is the heel. Now, the heel, she has devised this heel herself. She designed it herself. The heel allows a beginner to even knit a sock with no hesitation. It's ingenious. It's very clever. I say that a lot, but it is clever. She's done something phenomenal and really created a whole heel out there that wasn't out there before. And she thought of it. Judy did. So the first one that I had knit, and look, this is funny. When you take it off, well, it's not funny. Oh, it's not funny, but it's okay. If you take it off, this I did not block this. No, I did block the other one. When you take it off, this is what it looks like. Take it off the sock blocker. This is what it looks like. Isn't that funny? So anyway, I was just going to tell you what the colors are. The colors I used are the Juniper Moon Farm Friendly. And hold up by my face, you can probably see it better. Juniper Moon Farm Friendly in the color Cocoa. And again, this, of course, this is a DK weight because it's a DK weight pattern. And I use it on the cuff also. Now the yarn here, the color of it is, well, the base, she calls it the Cafe au Lait base. And the color is Butter Cookies. And again, this is by Yarn Cafe Creations. Now, every yarn I talk about, every pattern I talk about, and I'm going to talk about a couple of I call them knitting accessories, things that a knitter might love to have. I'm going to talk about those too, and I will also have those linked below. So anyway, those are the colors that I used for that sock. So I knit the size 2 is what I knit. In the size 2, I generally wear, well, okay, it's funny. I can wear size 7 shoes, and for years I wore 7.5. Then all of a sudden I'm wearing size 7. So I don't know if they've changed the sizing of shoes. I don't know. It's been way over 10 years ago. I thought, how can I be getting a smaller foot? So sometimes I wear a 7 and sometimes it's a 7.5 depending on the brand. But socks, you know, I would say I'm a 7.5. So let's get right in, and I'm just going to show you right here. Let's go ahead and take this off because this is one of the knitter's necessity. Let's call it a knitter's necessity that I purchased that I was going to tell you about. And it is the sock blockers. Now this one is the small size, and you get 3 different sizes. You get a small set, a medium set, and a large set. And this is by, it's called Silly Monkey. Now this is really nice because what happens is, oh, there's a picture on here you can see. Now it has the sizes on here. It gives your US sock sizes, your Euro shoe size, your US shoe size for men and for women. So I had never had a sock blocker before until I had done this test knit, and I thought I really need one. And I've done sock test knits before, and I've just laid them out on the mat and just kind of shaped them where I thought they needed to be, because the other test knit I did for a sock was lace. It was beautiful. I don't know if I have it handy here. I have shown it in previous episodes. So anyway, I never had sock blockers before, so I purchased those, and I'm going to get a lot of use out of those. And I think that's a necessity for a knitter, a knitter's necessity. And something else that I have gotten, you know, it was my birthday, April 3rd, I turned 64, and that was the day that we traveled back and got home from Florida. And when we got home, my daughter said, "Mom, what would you like for your birthday?" And I said, well, and I thought for a little bit, and I said, you know what I really would like to have? And I'm sure there's a lot of you that are familiar with the Bolga Basket. And, you know, she says, well, I told her, I said, this is great. Thank you so much. I said, I would like to have the medium size. And she said, Mom, if you can get a large, why do you want a medium? And she said, I'll get you a large one. Well, I'm going to show you this. It is really nice, and it's going to last forever. It's big. It's large. And this is it. This is it. Isn't it nice? It was so nice. Here it says Bolga. I love it. I believe they said it's made, I think is it elephant grass that it's made from? But when you get it, it's squished up, and you just soak it in water, and you don't want to submerge much of it. You don't want to leave it in there. You submerge it in water, and then you shape it. And I brought it upstairs, and I have this neat little rack up here. It's wood. It's really nice. It's down here to my left. I set it on there so the air could flow, and it's really, really pretty. Whoop. Really pretty. There you go. I was going to show you the bottom of it, but everything's going to go flat. There it is. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Of course, it's hand done. This is leather through here. It's got the little loops here on the handle. Now, you probably have seen them in, you can get them where there's several different colors. I thought, well, I'll get the natural one if I could. And I'm so appreciative. My family, they are very supportive of me knitting and of me, doing this YouTube, is it a podcast? Do we call these a podcast? I know some people do, and some people say it's not really a podcast. But so anyway, they're very supportive of me, and they listen to me when I talk about my knitting, and don't roll their eyes and don't carry on. And especially my husband, when I put this on and showed him, he says, that really looks nice. And I think I've said before, which one he really thinks looks very good is the Autumn League pullover. He really likes that one. And I'll bet you I could knit one for him. Probably could, because if that yarn, you would think that cotton yarn, it's Lion Brands. It's one of their more premium yarns. They call it the LB collection is what they call it. And it is really a nice yarn. Honestly, I was very surprised. And I shouldn't be, because Lion Brand has a big variety of yarns. They really, really do. So anyway, so I do get compliments from my family on things that I knit. But they know that I like to knit, so they're all for it. So real quick here, I'm just going to show you the Sophie scarf, because I talked about mine a few minutes ago, and this is the Sophie scarf. And the Sophie scarf, I had knit this in Boboli lace, which is Barocco, and it's a number 3 light. So it was really lightweight. I mean, generally a number 3 is considered a DK, but the yarn I used, like I said before, is just, it's very, very fine. Very fine. And this has thick and thin going through it too. It's very pretty. And look how tiny that little I-cord is, I-cord edge. Cute. How tiny it is compared to my big, the Sophie scarf. So I'm going to put this on so you can get a better look at it here. Oh, let's do that. And you can even turn this to get a little bit of a shawl collar to it, and I'll show you the back. Here's the back, and that's 16 inches. I think, is that the lot? That's at the point there. Feels like it. Okay. So anyway, it just feels very good. You know, the more you knit, the more you understand how important texture and touch is, and with these yarns that you have knit, and you feel them on your body, and you feel them in your hands, and you just appreciate that that this craft, this art, kind of sustains you. It does for me anyway. Every day I'm thinking about knitting. Oh, I want to knit this. Oh, I want to knit that. And I'm always, and you know, that's kind of the exciting part too, is deciding what you're going to knit next. This knitting community is so friendly and so supportive. And I consider each and every one of you my fiber friend. So fiber friends, thank you for watching. Go out there and knit the day. And it's the weekend. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.